This is it. This is book 3 of the Vashtorr breakdown. All the lore, all the stories, everything that goes on, I'm going to be talking about in this video. So if you don't want to be spoiled, this is your first and only warning. Everything from here is big. It's big, it's spoilerific, it is exciting, there's battles, there's purging, there's everything like that. So let's jump in and let's get waffling. So Vashtorr is in his sanctuary and he's basically watching all the other Bale fleets do their tasks across the galaxy, purging, fighting, collecting all the stuff that these Bale fleets have been sent out for. Vashtorr is planning his next move to acquire the next relic for this key, for him and Abaddon to create whatever they're creating. And then it basically, like within a flash, he teleports onto a station. He basically laughs as he hears like the praise of the Omnissiah and everything like that. The station he's actually in is like a deep research station that is highly classified and run by the Inquisition. There's another flash, and then a squad of Death Watch Marines are like teleported in front of him, and I'm like, oh my god, it's about to go down. Death Watch versus Vashtorr, and basically the leader of it, who is marked as an Imperial fist, by the way, clenches his fist. I'm like, oh, he's about to punch him in his face. But then smashes it against his chest and says, Hydra Dominatus. It's the goddamn Alpha Legion working with Vashtorr. Vashtorr says, right, go and do your tasks, and I'm about to go and do my tasks. As the Marines leave to do their tasks, there's gunshots ringing out because they're literally overtaking this research facility, this hidden research facility. Vashtorr moves down, does his own plans. He basically comes into contact with the forces of the station who are now rallying because all the alerts are going off. He's killing them. He's purging them apart. He battles his way through the station, and then he comes upon the prize why he's there. It's this ancient cogitator from, thousands and thousands and years ago. And there's like an adept of the machine god attached to it. Like Vashtorr looks upon the adept and the machine and like demands, tell me what I wish to know. And the adept responds like, I'm loyal to the machine god. Vashtorr slices the adept's neck, blood splurts everywhere and stuff like that. Vashtorr wasn't actually speaking to the adept. He was speaking to the cogitator itself. We learn that the actual cogitator is an actually AI-powered machine that has been hiding its presence for so long in the Inquisitorial station. Of course, because AI is banned, it's seen as blasphemous and stuff like that. Vashtorr knows this, and he offers the AI its freedom from being loathed by the Imperium. He offers it a body, a purpose in the universe. The AI responds with like, what do you wish to know? And Vashtorr's like, the location of the battle station, the Rock. Now, the next part of the story opens up on the world of Marwan's Reach. Now, this world is about to fall to the powers of chaos. There's some mysterious, shadowy figures that are purging the planet, and they're about to lose it. So they send a distress call out saying, please, anyone, we need aid. Can anyone come and help us? Now, that is answered by the Crusade Fleet Primus. They send out a task force who is being led by the Ultramarine Chief Librarian, Tigurius, along with, a massive contingent of Ultramarines and Nova Marines. They're reinforced by the Knightly House Raven and soldiers of the Imperial Guard. Basically, a huge task force that is going to help the planet, save the day, and make sure chaos is being smashed. But on that planet, and unaware to them, like they're actually being monitored by a ship in like the outer limits of the system. A silent ship, the Silent Hunters, the Raven Wing. Their craft, the Implacable Justice, as I said, has been monitoring the planet and the battles upon it, because the planet and like the forces on there are basically the Fallen. That's what it's like hinted at, like the Fallen are on that planet, and of course the Raven Wing monitoring it because they want to get involved. There's a large army of the Fallen on this planet, so that ship alone can't actually go there and combat them, so they summon the Rock for aid. They need more reinforcements, so whatever they do, they send their call out, and the Rock is summoned. Now, this ship, they've waited weeks and they've monitored the battles. The task force has arrived in the meantime. They're monitoring their battles with it. But then they start getting all the sensors coming through. A huge warp signature was detected, and from the blackness of space, the void was lit by the rock as it sliced through the warp and came into the system. It was followed, of course, by the massive fleet of warships that follow the rock around. The Dark Angels have come, and they're about to bring their justice upon the fallen on Marwan's Reach. But all was not as it seemed, because just as the rock came into the reality of real space, along with the Dark Angels fleet that protected it, warning bells began to toll, defense station rose to maximum alert, something else was coming, something huge that was about to break into real space. Now we go back to the story of the Cogitator and Vashtorr. The Cogitator that Vashtorr had spoken to and promised gift was part of an Imperial secret monitoring station ran by the Ordo Astartes. The Inquisitor called Halax had been secretly monitoring the comings and goings of the rock because he believed the Dark Angels and its successor chapters were secretly legion building once again. So this is why he's been tracking them. When the Inquisitor never realized what he didn't put two and two together is that the Cogitator machine he was using to track the rock was actually this ancient AI device. The AI itself was called Aurak Myriad. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It remained hidden by underperforming its tasks. Basically like, okay, beep, 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 I'll do this, half as good so I don't give myself away. The Inquisitor thought that he had cracked the code in finding the rock with the aid of the device, but basically it was just the AI had become so adept at reading signs of the rock, it was easy for the AI to find it. Now, of course, he had shared this information with Vashtorr and his forces. Now, on the subject of Vashtorr's forces, this is really interesting. So Vashtorr had a vast amount of forces at his disposal. Abaddon had given him a sizable force of Black Legionnaires and Sorcerers to command. We actually learned that Vashtorr and Perturabo have a firm but far from friendly alliance. Vashtorr and Perturabo, fanfiction incoming. They have worked together in the past on many nightmarish weapons. Perturabo gave Vashtorr a mighty Iron Warrior force to aid him in his task to collect these relics. All of this added to Vashtorr's huge army of demons, of course, and now Vashtorr had also kept his promise with the AI and melded it into one of the biggest arcs. The AI actually took over all the ships that melded to this huge rock, and it basically became a living space hulk now. And of course, with the information on the rock's location, the enemy then burst upon the Dark Angels fleet. The ambush was unleashed. The Dark Angels themselves were took by complete surprise. The rolling wake of the warp caused Auspex blackouts, visions drove crew members insane and mad, demonic incursions flooded ships. At the time of the ambush, Ezekiel, who is the lead librarian, if I'm not mistaken, of the Dark Angels, was in command of the rock. Him and Belial were both in command because Azrael was recovering from his primary surgery. Ezekiel saw that if the rock stood its ground, it would be completely annihilated. They were massively just at the wrong end of the stick during this battle. So he said, right, take the rock towards Marwan's Reach. Take it towards this bloody task force. This is only going to be our saving grace. He gave command to the fleet to Samael of the Raven Wing, who was on board his own ship, the Implacable Justice, as I mentioned. Ezekiel lit the engines of the rock and made for the planet, and this is where we're going now, and the force of chaos is literally bearing down upon them. There's a massive naval battle then that happens, and it's absolutely bloody glorious. As I mentioned, the battle in space is epic. We have Dark Angel ships being boarded and destroyed, but the Dark Angels counter, of course, destroying nearly a quarter of the enemy fleet with a tactical brilliance of Samael. Deathwing Terminators board ships, destroy them from within, and then get extracted out by, their gunships and stuff like that. The rock itself lays down a massive fire upon the traitor fleet. Imagine the rock, all its guns firing everywhere, blowing up ships and stuff as it's making its way to Marwan's Reach. The rock is actually protected by a device called the Shield of Aegis. It's basically like a force field that protects the rock. It stops all type of damage to the rock. It's like an ancient bit of technology. Now Vashtorr unleashes his chaotic weapons because he's master of machines and stuff that he's been working on for years. That actually brings down the shield and exposes the rock's defenses, and basically it's now ready to be boarded. Ezekiel and Belial spring spring into action and prepare for the boarding. Reserve companies are readied because the onslaught is about to hit the rock. The forces of chaos begin to board the rock. Azrael basically dons his armor. Like I said, Azrael has just come across the Primaris. He's still not fully 100%, but he's like, give me my armor. I must lead my brothers. And he goes into battle. There's other characters like Lazarus, Asmodai, of course. They're all popping up. Squadrons of armor, of Dark Angel's armor spring. They start striking at the forces of chaos because chaos is actually landing at this point. The Raven Wing throw itself in the midst of battle. Raven Wing being Raven Wing, bikes doing wheelies on the rock, just decimating chaos. It's such an epic battle. But the true battle is happening within the rock itself. Chaos forces were teleporting deep within the depths of the rock. Azrael and his cohorts of the inner circle know the secret weapons, technologies, and captives that are held within the rock. And if Vashtorr and his forces could get their hands on a single piece of person or device, then the consequences could actually be nightmarish. It could literally destroy everyone. Now the battle inside is absolutely brutal. Fresh scouts of the Dark Angels who have literally just been given the position to fight in the name of the Lion, in the name of the Dark Angels, are literally going toe to toe with hellish black cladded Terminators slung literally into the fires of war. The Dark Angels made sure that each step taken by the traitor forces would be paid for with blood. It's literally just hand-to-hand combat in these hallways. It really is amazing. Asmodai led 50 battle brothers who were propelled 4 successive assaults. No, you're not getting through here. No, you're not getting through here. And then he led a counter charge and broke a part of the chaos forces. These ancient dreadnoughts that rose from their eternal slumber. What is it, little brother? And they marched to war once again. And it's just all out brutally, just bloodshed and just guts. Everything that you expect in close quarter combat, dreadnoughts punching things in the face. It's amazing. Now, even though the Dark Angels were repelling the forces and having many victories in the rock itself, one assault could not be halted. That is Vashtorr's assault, which led deeper and deeper within the rock. He shattered defense after defense, and he's moving closer to his prize. That was just beyond something called the Nameless Gate. I wonder what's behind the Nameless Gate. Here, Azrael and the elite forces of the Dark Angels sought to stand and bring justice to the forces that have invaded the rock. They would not let them pass. They would not let them breach the Nameless Gate. We have an absolutely epic duel with Azrael and one of the commanders of the Black Legion. By the way, there's Black Legion, there's Wordbearer, there's Iron Warriors. This commander of the Black Legion is a sorcerer. He's doing Force Lightning at Azrael, and Azrael's die, fiend, and slices his head off, and the Black Legion oh damn, this guy means serious business, let's get the hell out of here. They begin falling back, but as they fall back, then Vashtorr and his demonic forces push forward. There's demons everywhere, demons ripping Dark Angels apart, Dark Angels ripping demons apart. Vashtorr and Azrael see each other from across the battlefield. They charge each other. They're having this epic duel. It has to be noted, of course, again, that Azrael is not fully fit. He's just have his Primaris stuff. He's not fully strength for this, and he cannot win this duel against Vashtorr because he doesn't have the full strength to him to purge Vashtorr. Now, as all this is happening, of course, the rock is moving closer and closer to Marwan's reach. The loyalist fleets that surround the planet begin to turn their ships and head to the rock and give aid to the Dark Angels. They see this massive fleet battle happening. They're like, oh boy, what's going on over there? Let's head over here and let's give them assistance. Then we have Belial, who was, at this time, he's been in the command center all along, and he's like, screw this, I'm going out to battle. Stuff is getting very, very serious. So he begins to leave because he's marching to war, and as he does, the lights flicker out, and darkness takes the rock. Azrael, at this opportunity, in the pitch blackness, it's just the cauldrons of the fire that are lighting the chamber, has a little mini retreat, opens his bolter into Vashtorr, and then it happens. Portals open all around the room, and figures clad in armor and robes marched from them. Vashtorr saw some of the Dark Angels tighten at the sight of the new Marines. He heard the Vox ring out with the word fallen. But it was worse than that. the cloak figures reveal their true identity. They're word bearers. They're Alpha Legion. They open fire, not only the Dark Angels, but the demons as well. Vashtorr grows. What the hell's going on? Because he sees the mark of Belakor upon them. With these new Marines came more demons, also bearing the mark of Belakor. They leap upon Vashtorr demons, and utter bedlam just erupts upon the rock. Now, Vashtorr, seeing this, begins to panic because he's about to lose his prize. So he marches towards the Nameless Gate. He's smashing Dark Angels, demons aside, but there's like a flash of lightning, like he's stopped, and he thinks like he's been banished for a second, but he's actually teleported to the surface of the rock itself in the midst of this huge battle between his forces, of course, and the forces of the Dark Angels. More portals start to open, and we see more forces of Belakor coming through, and Vashtorr is literally enraged. His plan has been foiled. Like, Belakor appears in front of Vashtorr and basically says, it's time for you to get humbled, slung back into your solitude of cogs. And Belakor and Vashtorr then launch themselves at each other, and they start their fight. Now, because of this, like, the demons of Belakor have started fighting the demons of Vashtorr. Vashtorr forces start retreating from the inner depths of the rock, which give Azrael and the Dark Angels a chance now to regroup and purge on with their onslaught. Azrael voxes his fellow brothers of the Dark Angels. They start amassing their forces and they strike out. They start taking back the inner rock and pushing all demonic forces into a full-on retreat. Now, as the Dark Angels were pushing out, Belakor and Vashtorr are, of course, locked into combat this time. This was basically like a funky warp battle, magic battle. You know, two of these massive demons, lots of weird stuff like Belakor turning to like a whirlwind of shadows, slapping Vashtorr and stuff like that. But the biggest thing at this time was during this battle, Vashtorr had sensed the huge fleet approaching to the rock. It was the reinforcements of the Ultramarines and the Novarines task force. Belakor also saw this and was like, okay, let's begin retreating our forces back through the portals that he had summoned. The forces of the task force of the Ultramarines and the Nova Marines start deploying upon the rock itself, which the Dark Angels don't actually like, lending their assistance in purging what is left of the enemy forces. Like, armoured columns deployed, Knights of House Raven marched, the Ultramarines and Nova Marines, of course, in their groups joined their Space Marine cousins. Vashtorr, seeing that he could not win, teleports them back up to the AI Ark, you know, like this brand new AI Ark he's made, and begins his retreat. He now can't complete the key that is located on the rock, or the device, or whatever it is that's on the rock, which is going to complete this key for him and Abaddon. Now, after the battle, the forces of chaos are completely like wiped out, but there is some elements that are like hid in the rock, and this is when the Dark Angels go proper grimdark. Like, they don't kill them, they drag them to, like, you know, like the dark cells, and they begin to torture them. Like, it literally says they will endure horrors that they have never experienced before. You have messed with the wrong chapter, forces of chaos. The Dark Angels love to put little tin, like, needles under your fingertips and get all the information out of you. Now, the funny thing is like, during all this that was going on, when the Aegis went down, the Master of the Forge has been in overdrive trying to get it working again, to get the rock protected again, and he got it working, and the Dark Angels basically tell the Ultramarines and the Nova Marines, get off the ship right now, right? You have one opportunity to get off our ship, or else. And like the Nova Marine leader is like, how dare you? We've literally just come and saved you. But like Tigerius, who is, you know, the head of the Ultramarines, understands like the Dark Angels are kind of weird in their secrets and in their ways, so they pull all their forces back with no questions asked. Now, the Dark Angels are then torturing all the prisoners that they have got, and boy oh boy are they torturing their prisoners. The information is given about who Vashtorr is, what he came for. He came for like a device and stuff, and they're like, where is he? And it's like, he's in the Sobian stars, please leave me alone, please. So Asmodai is like, this maybe could be a trap, but we will basically give this information to Azrael and see what he wants to do with it. So it seems like the Dark Angels are going to go to the Somian stars to get their vengeance upon Vashtorr. Now, just at the end of the book, we have this like little meeting between Abaddon and Vashtorr. Vashtorr is literally fuming at this point, saying, Belakor, you know, it's one of your lackeys. Abaddon's like, it's not one of my lackeys, right? I am my own boss. It's your fault. You commanded the attack. I gave you the forces. You should have won. And then they get into like a conversation about something really, really interesting. So it's like the completion of the key remains our single purpose. And Abaddon states, I'm actually going to read the bit of text here, you know, what I was sent. It says, but without, Abaddon caught him. So Abaddon says, but without, Abaddon caught himself. It would not do to name their missing prize in the loyalist sanctum. He did not know who or what might be listening. Without the last of the free, all is wasted effort. The key will not wake. The key will not wake. What the hell does that mean? Does that mean the lion is still asleep? Is the lion the key? Is he the key to everything? Is it? I'm literally so confused. I'm so lost now at what this could be. Maybe the lion hasn't returned. Maybe I was wrong all along. Now, final thoughts on the book. I did enjoy it. I thought the battles were epic. I love the Void stuff, but I've always been a huge fan of Void battles. The inner fighting inside the rock I thought was brutal as well. You know, Space Marines going toe-to-toe, Dreadnought ripping things apart was amazing. Belakor showing up was kind of a bit of a head twist. I didn't think they'd do it with Belakor, right? I didn't think Belakor would be the thing, but that does make sense now because there was like that demon card of demons stabbing demons. Again, each card means something for these books. So that is what that was. You know, Belakor betraying a fellow demon to stop, of course, Vashtorr's plans coming to fruition and them getting, you know, one of the last parts of this key to awake, whatever bloody the hell this thing is. Apart from that, I'm a kind of let down. There was no mention of the lion, but I can kind of understand why at this point to let the lion out the bag right now in this book with everything that's going on may ruin the big reveal, which could be at Adepticon on the 22nd. So maybe they're just holding that back to show the fifth and final book of this Arks of Omen series. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was great. It was, you know, epic battles and stuff like that. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback on this. Did you like what you've been hearing? What I will say is that Nova Marines and Ultramarines saving the Dark Angels. Well, Dark Angels. Welcome to the club, right? Apparently they saved us from the Iron Cage, and now they're saving you from your own rock. What a bunch of losers. I'm only kidding. Why did it have to be the Ultramarines? Why could it be, I don't know, the Raven Guard or the Salamanders or something? Why does it have to always be the bloody Ultramarines, Games Workshop? There's so many other chapters out there. Use other chapters. Could be the Space Sharks. How awesome would it be to see the Space Sharks getting involved and all that awesome stuff? Right, enough waffling. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching as always. If you've got any thoughts, feedback, anything like that, post it down below and we can have a nice little chin wag down there as we always do. See you now. Have a great day and bye-bye.